experience is the experiment.
Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Will you guys do a little intro? Just tell everybody who you guys are.
My name's Aryay, Mickey. I'm Mickey, but I go by Aryay when I make music.
My name is Kurt, and I go by Flosstradamus when I make music. I also do Web3 stuff, NFT tech things, and I love to do fun creative projects.
Hell yeah.
Those are all under the title Liberated.
The man of many projects. All right, let's start this off right with a little
Ooh,
shot.
Let's go.
I have the same socks as you, Mickey.
Oh yeah, we've that's true.
Wow.
Listen, I'm ready to light that cigar whenever too.
Let's talk about those socks in the interim. Shots and
talk about
socks.
Pour
Oh my
yourself
goodness,
a
that's a
big
big
one.
shot.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be sipping.
I'll sip a little bit.
I don't drink enough to know how to pour
Yeah,
shots
I
well.
don't drink either.
Well, you
but
want a spoon?
we're in a podcast.
Do we have an extra cup?
I don't know.
I don't think we have an extra cup
But
right
to
now.
us, is there a cheers that anyone has? Is there something? Do you have a Jewish cheers? Is there something?
So does Bradley. He knows.
Yeah.
He probably knows
Well,
it.
you guys do it.
L'chaim.
Chaim
That's it. L'chaim.
That's it.
to life.
What's the? Oh yeah, cheers.
Is L'chaim to life?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's correct.
What is the thing you taught me last time? You
Lashon
guys-
hara?
No.
Shkoyach. Oh yeah.
Shkoyach.
No, you do this. Shkoyach.
Oh yeah, shkoyach.
What does that mean?
It means like it's two words. It's yesher koach, which I think means like something like much strength or something.
Yeah, like good luck. Yasher koch.
Yeah, but it's like
Ah.
yeah, shkoyach. You like kind of say it all at once.
And it's like slang for American Jews, right? Am I tripping?
Yeah, it's like when someone gets called to read the Torah and then they finish and they come down and everyone's like shkoyach, shkoyach.
Oh, okay.
I've never heard. I didn't go to.
That's
shul
very
enough.
that's very Jewish. Yeah.
I love it. Mickey is my like translation between the worlds. He teaches me so much.
You've been at more Shabbats than half my Jewish friends.
I have. I'm honorary
It's unreal.
between these two.
Whenever somebody sees a picture, they're like, "Are all these people Jewish?" And I'm like, "Most of them
Most
aren't."
of them are not.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a good portion.
I think it's like what, like 60-40?
Yeah.
60 Jew?
It could go either way. It could be like 70-30 or it could be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, killer. So I wanted to bring up, just to start this off, tell everybody what you guys were just talking about, what you're allowed to say
Oh,
about your new project.
I'm doing an NFT project because I was going to say something mean about something, but I'm not going to say that. I'm doing an NFT project because I've had this project on my mind for a long time, and then it finally made sense to release it in this format. Like, I've been doing something for so long. I could probably say what it is.
Yeah,
right?
talk about it.
Yeah, it's just like I've been taking a photo of myself every day for 11 plus years, which is pretty narcissistic and also interesting to see yourself age. I've also missed a lot of days and it hasn't been perfect, but I've been doing it on the photo booth app on a Mac, so it's really cool because you see people coming and going throughout my life. Kurt, my cousin, and a few ex-girlfriends.
And you mapped it out really well, so it moves with your
Right.
face.
I line my face up. I tried to line my face up so that when you scroll through the thing, each picture is kind of lined up, and then you just see hair growing or a beard growing, and then it goes away, and then there's a mustache, and then more hair and no hair, and so I got the idea from like a YouTube video that went viral when YouTube was first a thing, and it had like the Requiem for a Dream song in the background. It was super depressing, and I was like, oh, that could be cool. And here I am 11 years later. Actually, it's my friend Alex's idea, and he just didn't stick with it, so I just kept doing it.
And where'd you get the idea to make an NFT?
So that was literally the night before I thought of it, I thought of it the night before this Indonesian kid, I think he's Indonesian, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name, but he released it and made a fuck ton of money, the same exact concept, but his is like a year, and his isn't as cool because it's just like him in the photo, and mine has a bunch of people, and it's like my life. But anyway, he released it, and the night before that happened, Kurt hits me up and sends me, he's like, yo, this kid did exactly what you've been doing for the last X amount of years with this NFT thing, or with your photo booth thing. We should like, and I was like, that's crazy. I literally thought of last night, like I should release this as an NFT because I've been getting in NFTs a little bit. Like I helped on a few people's with music, and I was like, oh, that was the idea. And
But how many Bored Apes do you own?
I mean, if I had one, I would probably sell it and buy a house.
This podcast would not be happening.
Yeah,
if you-
I wouldn't be here. I'd be
Yeah.
in some exclusive Ape Club or something.
Yeah.
And what are you doing along with it? Can you talk about that part?
I mean, that's why I brought Kurt on. Kurt is the fucking NFT guru and knows this world so well, and I've seen him do what he does whenever he gets intrigued by something. He just puts his head down and just goes super hard, like literally like on phone calls all day kind of thing. So it's interesting that he's here doing a podcast because that's just more of speaking. So I'm sure he's. I'm surprised you're not worn out from speaking. But what are we doing with it? I mean, I kind of brought Kurt on to have all these clever ideas because that's what he is. He's just like an idea machine. Just before this started, he was telling me things that I didn't even know. The thing's supposed to come out, the NFT is supposed to come out the 27th of April.
Mm-hmm.
And Kurt was just telling me like a bunch of ideas that I didn't even know were happening. And they're all really smart.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll wait and put this out around the same time.
Yeah, I think we should.
Use it as a little bit of promo.
I think
Little
so.
clickbait.
A few
Dare
weeks
we?
out. Yeah, click
Yeah,
it.
it's not that far away.
Well, we have to
No,
get in a
yeah.
fight mid-podcast.
Yeah.
That's part of the market.
I'll ref it.
Yeah, let's
I-
go.
No, you can't. But then you knew.
Oh, yeah.
I
That's,
didn't-
It's got to look natural.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Let's light these cigars real fast. And I also,
Lloyd, there's a cigar for you for sure.
Oh, wow.
are you smoking a cigar, Kurt?
I'm doing all the bad things. Let's go.
Bad thing.
Skoyak.
That's good. Good usage.
Do you want to take the big boy or small boy? Small boy.
I got the cutter over here if it needs to be cut.
They both
We need to
be
cut
cut.
it. Mickey, can you tell them the reason why we're smoking a cigar on a podcast?
Because we watch way too much Joe Rogan.
We're gonna call this podcast Faux Rogan. That's what
Faux
this
Rogan.
is.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna smoke a podcast. Smoke a
Smoke a podcast.
Of course that was on the
Yeah.
spot. Here, I'll let you go first.
I'm always on the spot.
I love.
Do you pre-toast it?
I don't know.
You need the torch. You always hear the torch in the background of Joe Rogan.
Oh yeah, you hear his big fucking crazy sounding.
It's like a dab torch.
You gotta inhale.
You guys are such cigar noobs.
I'm an aficionado. I actually I got a cigar magazine sent to my house. I don't know why.
Apologies for the people hearing me gag on the cigar,
Oh, it's okay.
but yeah. Well, he's lighting. We'll talk a little bit more, but it's funny because Mickey doesn't know anything about NFTs or care to really. So that's kind of where I come in and like. I try to educate him, but it's almost like he doesn't even care. So, which is kind of
Yeah.
endearing. So, I'm just-
Endearing or annoying?
whatever. I'm here to like heavy lift for him, which is cool because I'm so immersed in this and I'm able to translate everything that is this NFT space to him, which is kind of cool. And then him and I have always worked over the years too. We have music we've done together, and how Mickey and I's relationship started was he was my intern. Like that's how it all started. And same with Loy, who's off cam, on cam. They hit me up. You got to tell that story, man. You got to tell it. Just tell it all. I'm gonna hit
I
this
think
up.
I think I kind of told it on the last podcast, right, Bradley?
Yeah, it's all good.
A little bit, but not with him here.
Man, he knows how to light a cigar. He's doing it. He's multitasking. He's got the in-ears, the
hat?
sunglasses.
Sheesh.
Mm.
Sheesh.
That's why I
So-
called you guys noobs.
Yeah, seriously.
I met Kurt because my cousin, who is sitting off camera,
Who is a great man.
who is a great man, he
That's the only thing you gotta say.
we used to go to shows, not to see the DJ, which is the current thing, right? You go to see Hardwell, or that was a weird example. I think I saw him on New Music Friday today. You go to see whatever DJ you went to see, right? Like
it
Martin Garrix.
2013?
I know, as a throwback. So there was a website called brokehipster.com in Chicago, and I think it said there was this prom party, and it was later we found out it was Flosstradamus, which is an annual party Kurt and Josh threw.
Yeah.
And Kurt and Josh had like the craziest Chicago parties, and we were too young to really know about them, but we stumbled upon this party. We went to meet girls. I mean, that's what kids 17 whatever do. We didn't go to hear EDM because that wasn't a fucking thing.
Yeah.
We came to dance and meet older girls because everyone was older than us. We were like 17. Everyone was probably like
I think you were legally coming into the parties too.
probably.
Yeah.
And then at the end, Josh is walking, and I remember what he was wearing. He's wearing like this Marc Jacobs jacket and like shorts and like Doc Martens, which was essentially their logo, which like it was a dental floss box with Doc Martens.
Yeah.
I forgot about that logo.
Yeah.
That was so good.
And my cousin recognized Josh and goes, I think that's the DJ. Well, Josh is holding a fucking MPC, and it's like, of course that's the DJ.
Yeah.
And not only do I think that's the DJ, my cousin's like, I think I served him at PetSmart the other day. And we walked up and my cousin said something like, yo, like, were you recently at PetSmart, da-da-da? And he's like, yeah. And we were like, yo, like, the music was crazy tonight. I think it was after the show, right?
Both.
Well, yeah, so we're like, the music was crazy, it was so fun, da-da-da. And he's like, yeah, you guys seem cool, we're looking for interns. And then we left the corniest, cringiest voicemail on Josh's phone. And I had him saved in my phone as floss, floss, floss with like 3 exclamation points. And like, I didn't even know like what that meant, like what EDM or, it wasn't EDM then, but whatever any of the fucking.
What was the voicemail though? Didn't you rap?
It was me and my cousin. We wrote a whole rap. We wrote a rap, and it was like, "Yo, this is Mickey. This is Shlomo. Na, and we wanted to be your interns." And we made a whole thing. I wish I could remember it. I wish it was somewhere.
That's sick.
That would be a good NFT to
Bars.
sell. And then they were like, "Okay, cool." They didn't respond to us for a while, and we were like, we fucked up. We came in too strong, and. Then we went to Sonotech, which was this club they were playing at, and that's when I was like, oh, this is what they do. And I heard Daft Punk, and I heard, Dutch House.
Oh yeah.
And like Afrojack and this music, and I was like, what is this music? This is crazy. And they were like, yeah, we need you to like go around town slapping stickers for us. And Kurt was always like, Josh was like giving us like tasks, and Kurt was always like, I don't want people like, you guys are good. You don't need to do anything. And me and like Loy were like, what do we do? And we were like trying to set up the turntables. We had no fucking clue what an RCA cable is, or even though it's like Nintendo 64, white goes to white.
Were these CDJs?
No. They were on vinyl. They were on vinyl.
Some
We were on
techniques.
Serato.
Mhm.
At the time, we were on Serato through the Serato box.
You had a
so-
little time code.
Yeah. So
Right, so it was like set up the Serato box, and we fucked it up, and Kurt was like, get out of my way. Like, and he was so all the intern stuff we were supposed to do, we didn't do well.
Yeah.
Except for like, we were able to go out to the crowd and pick out girls, which they were like, yo, get girls on stage. This is like what Girl Talk used to do. He get like 50 people on stage. So there was one show, Kurt and Josh were like, go out to the crowd, and we had the neck bands on that said we were with the show, and like, we were like, thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was. It
Were
was
you
the
making
coolest thing.
music?
Yeah, but it was a new term that all the kids use now is mid, which I love.
Yes.
Like, it's such a dismissive term. Like, you play something you worked on for a year, like, that's mid.
Yep.
And you're
It's
like,
like-
oh.
It's like when you're smoking mids.
yeah, exactly. So our music was less than mid. It was trash.
What kind of music were you making at the time?
I was making kind of a blog house adjacent music. It was kind of mashup stuff.
Mhm.
Like the Matt and Kim remix was kind of Jersey Club. It had trap in it. It was okay. So at those parties he was talking about, we would play like hip hop. We would play like current hip hop, whether it was like Lil Jon or I don't even know, whatever, 3-6 Mafia. And then we would mix it with like Chicago House and Chicago Juke, which is kind of a sped up version of Chicago House.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of going back and forth between like dance music and hip hop in our DJ sets. So the music we made was a version of that. So like one of the biggest remixes we did was for this band Matt and Kim, which is like an indie rock band. We remixed their song, added like Jersey Club drums over the top, which at that time was called Baltimore Club, and then even had like a trap breakdown. So there's like halftime trap hi-hats and 808s and
Oh,
stuff.
that's sick.
So that was like in 2006 or something.
So it was like
It was so
pre-trap.
It was so innovative, dude. Everything Kurt did in that era, and like, it was just like mind blowing to me as a producer. And not that I was like a real producer yet, in terms of like, I don't know how serious I took it, but hearing all that stuff, I remember. I mean, like, this is before they even started the whole trap movement, which like Kurt and Josh did. Like, they
Yeah.
are the reason. And I know you know that.
I was at one of your shows in like, I don't know, it had to be 2012, 2010 when
Yeah.
you were playing with Major Lazer
Yeah.
at in Royal Oak.
Yeah, man.
That was
Yeah.
like the height of that shit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that-
Mad Decent Block Party, I believe.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That was like right after like Original Dawn and all that was
Yeah.
Yeah.
fucking popping.
Yeah.
Went crazy. But
Yep.
but even before that, Kurt like always had his finger on the pulse. Like, he always knew. It's like, how can I do something a little weirder and a little weirder and a little weirder, and I always like super respected that.
Thank you,
I
brother.
think
No.
that's a super cool.
And on what to just say, that's like what I'm even trying to do in this NFT thing and stuff. I think that's a way to just keep creating or whatever, is like take things in the past that worked, and then the things that didn't work in the past, don't bring them into the future, but then take what you feel like the future might be and like combine those together, and like that's how I create.
Well, you're like you have a really good filter. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
kind of how you have to go through shit, whether it's music or not. Is find the things that hit, find the things that don't,
Yeah.
and sift between them and take what you need and leave what you don't.
That's a good call. Yeah.
Where did you get that sort of mentality? Where'd you get that drive?
The drive is because I'm a Midwest boy. I don't know. You all are Midwest boys, but like something for me, my dad worked at General Motors, and he was like, he got, this is kind of crazy, but he got an award because he worked 30 years and he never had one sick day.
That's fucking insane.
He never had one sick day working at General Motors. And what was kind of funny is like maybe 2 or 3 years after that, General Motors just laid him off, or was about to lay him off, because they were closing down the plant in Kalamazoo, where I'm from. And to me, for one, I saw his grind. He always is grinding, which I think is reflective in me. But then I also was like, I expected to like graduate high school and just work at General Motors like him. That was going to be my path.
Really?
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. I didn't
know you thought that that was like a reality.
I never considered creative stuff or anything as a career path. I was always doing creative stuff. Like when I was a teenager, we had a skateboard company called Gilded One with my best friend Pat, and we would like we designed and photoshopped these like t-shirts, and we like went to the local skate shop when we were like 15, and we were selling them at our skate shop. Like I've always done random little companies, but I never thought that could be a career. It was just like a fun thing to do. But when my dad had lost his job at General Motors, it was like, oh shit, he literally dedicated his entire life to this company, and they just don't even give a fuck about him. And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to give my life to someone else.
How old were you at that point?
I don't even know. 13? I probably was teens. I don't even know what it was, but
So that kind of instilled the make the house for yourself sort of vibe, where you build something that somebody can't take from you.
yeah, I guess because I'm the only one that can.
Yeah.
But I'm the only one that can build it too. So I'm accountable both ways. And that's just what it is, man. That's why I'm on these calls, and I was in meetings from 9 a.m. till I pulled up. I saw you guys was on the phone on another call. Like I'm like constantly grinding. I don't know if that'll ever stop. Like I got good money now. I could quit this shit, but like
I've seen you hit lulls in terms of like
burnout.
yeah, in terms of being like a complete animal of like just nonstop.
Yeah.
And but it's interesting because when you hit those lulls, you're like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, like anyone, if anyone does anything for X amount of time and then they stop doing that, you're like, it's like, what is my identity if it's not this?
Good call.
Like if I wasn't producing, it's like that's like I don't know what I am without music. And I've said this before on the last podcast, like, you know, like the fucking like fraud syndrome. What's the
Imposter
syndrome?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't sit here. I'm not like I bleed art, and like if I don't make art, then I'm not satisfied. I'm not that guy. But even to the level of music that I create, and to the level of like involvement I have in music, I don't know what I am if I'm not that. Because a lot of people are good at a lot of things. Like Kurt is very good at a lot of things. The motherfucker like knows how to code, and if he's not coding, he can take apart a scooter, a moped, you know. And if he needs to do that, then he's also like planting trees and
beekeeping.
And yeah, beekeeping. That's what I'm saying. I don't have that, and like I think so. That's why so much of my identity is wrapped up in this, and I'd imagine it would be pretty terrifying to like do any like just to not let's say I fail, right? Like whatever, it's a possibility. Everyone, however you define failure. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't literally survive out here on this budget sort of thing. I'm like, I don't know. My identity would be in question.
Yeah.
You know? So I know you've had versions of that, like not failure, but like questioning your identity.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so like awesome to see you move to the NFT shit. Cause it's like, I just see the fire is lit again. And you're just like back full force. Like you're in it.
Nah, man. And Mickey and I have a relationship that's deeper than work and shit too. Like I know we're talking about a lot of that, but you've seen so many phases of my life. And
yeah. We've known each other for what?
Yeah.
Me, you, and Lloyd, like what, 11 years or some shit? 10
more than that. Like
since I was 18, since we were 18. So I'm 31. So how long is that?
I can't do math. You know that.
Yeah, dude, someone added up.
Over 10 years.
Brandon, what's 31
Put it in the
minus
comments.
18?
Yeah, it would be 13.
13.
13 years old.
There we
Wow.
go.
So you were
13
definitely not
years,
legal to
13
go in
years.
clubs.
No.
No.
Since I was 18, 13 years we've known
Oh,
each other.
yeah.
That's,
I-
yeah. But still, we
We're back.
That tequila's really hitting.
We're
It's all
back.
good. It's all good. Oh, that's the blunt. You gave him the blunt, didn't you? No.
That I probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he's just normal.
But yeah, we've known each other for a long ass time.
Yeah.
And on a personal level, man, I've confided in you for so much, and you've been there for me, and I've been there for you, which is so dope, and I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've seen those low moments, and I think those were this thing where I lost my identity and my career stuff. I think that is part of my core who I am or whatever, and I don't know. I don't want to be defined by doing that stuff, but I just like with the EDM and with the trap and running around the world and being at these shows and having to turn up and all this stuff, like it wasn't really resonating with like 35+ year old Kurt. Like I just like big filthy drops weren't resonating with me in that way at the time.
And you toured for what? It was like 11 straight years or something.
Yeah, man, I toured so long from 2000.
Like
Floss
like nonstop.
Yeah, Floss started in 2005, and then 2010 through I don't know 16 we were going hard. So 6 years hard, whatever.
Hard means like
How many days?
300, like 265, right? 300 days a year.
Yeah, there was moments. 2016 was the biggest year we had, and that's right before Josh left. But I don't even know, man. We were going a lot. It was definitely,
That's
I would say,
unreal.
over half of the year we were in a mode of travel, a state of travel.
Do you find now that the NFTs are kind of in your life and that's taking up a large portion of the space that when you do go back on stage, you kind of have a little bit more energy to,
Yeah,
it feels
Wow.
like a change of scene?
yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like part of like when I would go and work on music, it didn't feel good. It felt like forced, and it almost felt like this is okay. I need to go work on this so I can like provide money and stability in my life or whatever. And
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not a way to work on music. That's not a way to be creative. And for me, I'm a genuine ass dude when it comes to everything in my life. And I was disingenuinely trying to make music and create. And then this NFT space gave me like this whole new creative outlet that made me stoked to create again. And I was just doing all sorts of weird stuff. I made that smokable NFT. I'm doing all sorts of stuff now. And like, that's the name of my company is called Liberated because I feel liberated genuinely. I feel like I'm back. I feel like I'm me. I feel like the most version of myself that I've been in years. But now when I come back to music, it's not that daunting. I need to force this shit. And
See,
it's fun.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's like my equivalent of that would be I mean, it's still in music, but it would be like if I had a number one song. The thing is, what they say is like once you get a big song, then you know you're the pressure is there to like you want to do another
Yeah.
big song, another big song. So maybe I shouldn't say that. Let's say after like a few big songs and enough money, maybe I would be like, oh, now I can make music that I just have fun on.
Yeah.
You know, or whatever that version is. Like you can, like you said, now music isn't as daunting to you.
And it's funny because maybe if you did somehow have that moment where it's not as daunting, maybe you would make that
Right.
single. It's such a weird
it's the
conundrum.
conundrum.
Yeah, that's what I'm
exactly.
saying. Like, and I'm not suggesting. It's just funny how that is. It's like,
Yeah.
how do you let your guard down and just be authentically you, but also how do you like cater to what trends are? Oh, there's like so many things that are
Yeah.
working against us creatives.
Well, it's like the dissonance of some people can only create when they're sad. Like that's when the most information is there to be used.
Yeah.
Yet they're not in a place where they can physically get up and go create. And there's just like this weird sort of
Yeah.
counteracting fight that's
Yeah.
happening. And I feel like that's with anything. And like what you were saying before of how you get burnt out, I think I can't imagine anybody who doesn't get burnt out in their job.
Yeah.
The difference is you did the same thing for so long on such a large scale that it was so obvious when you were burnt out to yourself. Like, you know, the feeling, the difference between getting on stage and loving 10,000 people in front of you and getting on stage and feeling like this doesn't feel correct. Like, it's so obvious. It should so obviously be such a blast that when it's not, it's like, what do you do if you get to the place where most people are trying to get their whole life and you can't find that same sort of high? It's not as sexy as it used to be.
It's like chasing the dragon, and as they say in like drug addiction or whatever. It's like you do heroin and then you have to keep chasing that dragon to feel like it felt the first time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in a very maximalist lifestyle. I've had some crazy ass experiences in my life. This man knows. And I'm like, I've just had some wild ass life experiences to the like point of like going out when I go to do these shows, the promoters take me to these decadent restaurants and I get free meals, and then there's beautiful women around and there's the most expensive alcohol and all of these things that if one person had that once in their life, that would be like a big moment of their life.
Yeah.
But it happens so many times that I become desensitized to the maximalist of life that life itself feels gray to me at times.
Yeah.
And like, luckily I found peace and I have real good human beings in my life that can ground me. But in that time that I was in a dark spot, I didn't have anyone around me that was like helping ground me.
Mhm.
And I just kept perpetuating that darkness, and it wasn't good.
Yeah.
It's weird that normally when you need to separate from people, it's when you're surrounded by the most people you need to separate.
Yeah.
Like you never need to like separate from a single person, or not normally.
Right. Well, right, because it's like the people that are around you
Yeah, the whole
tend
situation.
to be like, it's like a group.
Mhm.
Um,
When I feel like that's where you guys, if you guys didn't tell me you knew each other to the level you did, I think it would be a pretty easy guess.
you think, for real?
Yeah, just because you guys both have this sort of need, or not even need, but love with building up other people too. I've never been in a room where you guys weren't connecting somebody, or
Yeah,
you weren't being
that's true.
completely open about things. Like that's a big part of it too. Is some people don't have the emotional stability to open up to people. Therefore, you're not going to get close enough with somebody to get help or to help them.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my cousin shares that with me. We're just like open books. Like maybe it's like we get off on it or something, just like telling people like too much information about our lives. You know, like
I
I'll
get
go on a date with a girl and like scare her away because I was just like way too transparent about like shit.
Well, that's why I think I became so close with both of you so quickly. Is I'm the same way. I sometimes I don't know where the line is.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's like when I'm sitting down with you guys, there's anything goes.
Yeah.
No, but that's what even like very soon into our friendship, you're like, love you, bro. And I was like, is that a Jewish thing or a Chicago thing or is like a Midwest thing? I'm like, what is that? Because immediately I was like, I love you too. Like
Yeah.
people in LA do that, and I hate when they do that because it's like you can tell when it's like a business move sort of thing.
Mm.
So sometimes people are like, I had a session with a guy twice, and he's like, man, I love you. Like you're such a good dude, or something. I'm like, I don't love you, man. Like I don't know you.
But
you know,
but to the openness that we all have, us, maybe it's our Midwest, whatever it
Yeah.
is. That's why maybe that dude can say he loves you or whatever in a sense because you
Maybe
have such an
feels
openness.
something.
Yeah, there's an openness.
Yeah.
Like
I just wouldn't reciprocate it because
Yeah.
I have to like feel that from the other side.
Right,
So when Bradley says it, I'm like I knew I was like he really does like feel love towards
Yeah.
me, and I was like I love him too.
Yeah, it might just be that reciprocated energy. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
there's like this like another connection there.
Yeah.
The Michigan connection. I mean, you're from Kalamazoo,
Yeah.
and you're by proxy from West Bloomfield.
Yeah, all the family.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you were saying like this decadent lifestyle that people don't, you know, you go out and you get fancy drinks and da da da. Like even with me and Lloyd, like when you played Lightology, it was like that rooftop party you played, and I
Yeah.
have videos from it, which is great. There was a green room. He played this rooftop party in Chicago. We were probably 19, 18 maybe still, and it was when we were first interning, and we went to our first green room. And first of all, they were DJing on a rooftop. It was a MySpace party, so MySpace threw the event, and there was like all these people in music, and I was like shaking hands, and I was like trying to get numbers. I didn't even know why or what I was doing, but I do remember going to the green room, and the green room was the office of like where people work every day.
Oh,
And the
shit.
green room thing was just like a big bucket filled with like different alcohols. And there's like a picture of my cousin holding the bottle of tequila, and then we just start pounding and like drinking. It's just like that was your version. That was our decadence then, and now it's like for you like Vegas and like a real expensive bottle and a real expensive dinner and a real.
Yeah.
But back then that blew our fucking minds.
Yeah.
So it's just funny like how it keeps kind of leveling up and how those standards change throughout time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the funny thing as well is that maybe that's what happens with everything, but I have more of a attachment to those moments like at Shabbos with you guys. Like these Shabbos dinners that y'all have are like that feels like that's the thing I don't have anymore. I do have the decadent stuff sometimes and that's great, but like I would rather have realness. Realness is hard to come by. That decadent stuff is just surface level stuff. It's for validation. But like I don't know. I think I'm not seeking validation. I'm seeking like a connection.
Yeah.
And like that's
no,
what,
that's like yeah. I
but
feel
I'm
you.
just saying I appreciate these like Shabbos dinner things, or I appreciate having these intimate moments with friends because, again, it's not me seeking validation. It's just me enjoying that moment with really good people because, You can't buy that shit at all.
Well, and that's something that we talked about a couple Shabbases ago. Is like
Do you have to explain to people what Shabbos is?
it's so Shabbat. We're Jewish. The three of us. He's off camera, but we're
I'm
the
Jewish
three of us.
adjacent.
Kurt is
And-
basically Jewish.
Yeah, you're Jewish adjacent.
Yes.
And then Brandon behind the camera also is. But every Friday night and Saturday morning, or yeah, I guess that's a
Friday
way
to
put it.
Saturday sundown.
You take a break. It's the day where you rest. You spend the time with family, friends. You put down the phone. You don't do all of the craziness. You kind of take a break from it for a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's
that's-
Shabbat, and to celebrate, we've been throwing like little dinner parties that have expanded to bigger dinner parties and eventually like full blown parties. But those are the things we're referring to. Just those, once a week nights where a bunch of friends get together and shoot the shit. And I try not to talk about business as much as I can because it's just like a really nice break.
Yeah, and the other cool thing that you guys have, and I might have to attribute that to Danny, who was kind of the original
Yeah.
Shabbat king in my book, because I came into it through his.
He
But
is for sure.
he would have them at his house, and he has all sorts of instruments and musical things at his house. So everyone would come and just get drunk or whatever, eat food, and then all of a sudden like a hand drum would come out and someone would start drumming.
Be a full blown.
And then all of a sudden, like an acoustic
African drum
guitar would
circle.
come out, and then all of a sudden, someone would like bust out a banjo, and like I'm like, what? They're doing a banjo solo, and like, it was just really cool to be around a bunch of musical creatives in that moment where our phones are off.
Yeah.
Like these things that like everyone would whip out a phone in those situations and document it, but it's like no, our phones are off. We're just vibing and communicating without even words, which is kind of cool too.
It's funny how that's brought out of just Shabbat as well. I for my birthday this year, and it's something I'm going to continue to do, is I send a text message to all my friends. I tell them, hey, for my birthday, I'm going to a campsite. I'm going to have a couple extra campsites open. If anybody wants to show up, I will not know. This is where I'm going to be.
that's
cool.
really
Show up
cool.
if you'd
That's a really
like.
cool idea.
I might steal that.
Yeah, that's a really good
well,
idea.
you guys better be there next
It's like,
year.
do you really love me? Show.
Yeah.
Well, so this year I'm sitting there with Elle. We're cooking like a steak or something. We're just sitting there, and I hear, "What's up, lover boy?" And I look up, and
Wow.
it's Danny and David.
No,
And they got a
that's so cool.
car full of African drums, and we sat in the middle of the mountains where there was no service, and it was kind of like a long form Shabbat, and we just jammed all day.
That's fucking
cool.
awesome.
And then they went home that night because they didn't want to camp.
Wow,
and, like, But they came out 45 minutes just to come
Yeah.
do that.
that's cool, man.
Let me pause you guys for 2 seconds. I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
All right. Are we rolling here?
Are we back?
Okay.
We're
All right.
back. All right.
And we're back from the bathroom.
Hey,
Um,
I
So what-
rehydrated.
I was just I have a funny story. I was just saying we were talking about while you were in the bathroom. We were talking about Tekashi 6ix9ine because I was saying I was working on a Tecate commercial, and of course Kurt's brain went to Tekashi, Tecate 6ix9ine,
Yes.
and he's the king of puns. If you didn't know that about Kurt, which is why he's helping on this NFT project. I worked with a few, like one of Tekashi's main writers, and they came to my apartment and like they had a bottle of Hennessy, and it was like, I don't know, 11 a.m. It was so early, and I was like, who are these dudes? And I didn't even know they were that close with Tekashi. And they were like, it was kind of sketch. We went out to lunch, and they were like looking around there. This was right when dude went to jail,
Ooh.
like maybe a few months into his prison sentence. So they were like, they had to leave Brooklyn or Bed-Stuy or whatever the fuck, because like they had like hits on them.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when we went out to like lunch, it was very uncomfortable. Like they kept looking around, and like after a certain amount of time, like we gotta get out of here. Like we're not comfortable. Anyway, the crazy story is, while I'm hanging out with dude, he gets a call from. I remember on his phone it was called Danny Pickup. That's how he titled him. And I was like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "It's Danny." I was like, "Who's Danny?" He's like, "Tekashi." And I was like, "Holy shit!" And it's like, "You are getting a call from whatever prison it was."
Whoa.
And then Tekashi's on speakerphone. He's like, "Yo, what y'all doing? What y'all doing?" And I was like, "How is this dude calling in jail like so casually? Just calling
Yeah.
one of his homies like on some let's catch up shit." And he's like, "What y'all working on? Let me hear some beats." And he's like, "Tell the producer to play some beats." And I'm just like playing beats. And he's like,
Wow.
"Oh, that one's crazy. That one's crazy." And he starts freestyling over these beats while he's on
In
the prison
prison?
phone.
Wow.
And he's like, "Tell producer put that beat to the side. Put that beat to the side." And he's like,
Whoa.
"I gotta go take a shit. I'll be right back." And like it was so bizarre to me because I was like, this dude's in prison And I just like spoke to him on the phone for a few minutes. Like I was like,
That's
I
so
was like, you like that one? He's
crazy.
like, yeah, the snare needs to like move. I was like, all right, cool. Like giving me notes
Wow.
on the beat.
Wow.
It was
That's
fucking
so
weird.
That's so crazy.
It was
When,
weird. It was one of the weirder
You've
stories.
never told me that story.
Yeah,
That's
it was a
awesome.
weird one.
how
for
long
sure.
ago was that?
It has to be like 2 years now. I think.
Pre-pandy.
Yeah, pre-pandemic.
He's out now.
Yeah, he's out and about. He's him and Steve will do it, our best
Yeah.
friends, and who knows?
I'm-
He's driving McLarens in Miami.
$200,000 watches.
Mhm.
Not a McLaren in the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You're living.
That's not good, but it works. It's so bad, but it's so good too.
So, tell me about how you kind of got into music, Aryay, Mickey.
Wanted to be a rapper. Wanted to be LMFAO.
Oh, man.
That's not a rapper.
It's sorry. There was a big jump there. It started. My brother had an illegal copy of Fruity Loops. He played me Daft Punk, and I thought it was gonna be a punk band, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And then I heard Crank That Soldier Boy, and I was like, I was obsessed with the Pack. Me and my cousin were obsessed with like, I think me a little more so like the Bay and hyphy culture, and like, cause my cousin's like super into like heady hip hop, right? Like real ass hip hop, and I was always trying to make goofy shit. And like more fun. So like we heard the Pack and I heard Soldier Boy, and I was like, I want to learn how to make that beat, the Crank That Soldier Boy beat.
Mhm.
And I was able to remake it on Fruity Loops because all the stock sounds that he used were from Fruity Loops. So I
Yeah.
found the same steel pan drum, and I found the same fucking snap, and
No
I found
way.
and I was like, and I was able to remake it. And this is before tutorials and YouTube, and there was this guy called War Beats, and he
Mhm.
had like a forum where he was telling you like how to do stuff and how to use Edison and Fruity Loops and all that shit. And
Wow.
that's how I got into it. And I wanted to be an artist. My brother Shlomo is like my biggest inspiration into music. We used to like acoustic jam, and he would play guitar, and we would all freestyle. And I was like, this is the world of music that I know. I was like, how can I learn how to like do it on, like in a DAW before I knew what that was called a DAW.
When did you start playing guitar?
It's like 6th grade, but I've never been good. It was like never something that I took seriously up until the last few years, and now I'm 31. It's like a nightmare trying to learn stuff when you're older.
You're a good guitar player.
That's kind, but like realistically, when I surround myself with people like Danny, like our mutual homie, like I'm
Totally.
like no, I'm not.
Well, there's a difference. Danny's a fluent guitar player.
He's trained.
Yeah.
He spent 8 hours a day. When I was watching YouTube, or when I was trying to be Soldier Boy, he was like playing guitar.
Absolutely.
So that's why he's there, and I'm like here in terms of that.
Well, and your production for the style that you do is, I mean, that's where your
That's
height is.
it's funny when I explain. People are like, "What do you do?" And I explained it to my like 60-year-old neighbor. He's like, he's also a classically trained pianist and guitar player, and he's like, "So what's your instrument?" And I was like, "I don't really have one." He's like, "So I see these people coming and going from your house all the time. You're always working on music. What do you do?" I was like, "I guess like the computer is the instrument at
Yeah.
a certain point, right?" Like,
Ableton is.
yeah, exactly. Well, I
Absolutely.
switched from Fruity Loops to
Yeah,
Ableton.
yeah.
So that's what it is. It's the
Mm.
computer became my instrument. So I wanted to be a rapper, Soldier Boy thing. Then I was like, I want to make indie pop. Couldn't cut it. Then I tried to make Moombatone. Couldn't cut it. Because whatever EDM genre was popping, I kept trying to follow and chase until finally trap, thanks in huge part to Kurt, became like a huge thing. I was like, I think I can. It's finally starting to click. And me and my cousin were the interns appropriately because we interned for Kurt. And we were finally like DJing shows, and I went to University of Illinois. He came the last year, U of I, and he just kind of was just like, I was like, you want to just like play shows and like just fucking come live with me, and he did, and it was great.
That's dope.
How'd you get the name Aryay?
It's my brother's name.
And it means
Lion, and that's why the whole branding was. It's funny because that's such a past life for me, like the caring about the branding, and like I couldn't even imagine myself caring again, which is cool because I'm releasing my first song in like 5 years in a couple months, or sorry, less, in like a month. And it's the first song of me singing that I've ever put out. And I think back to like when I was trying to do the branding of the lion and this and that, and I cared so much, and all my eggs were in that basket. Now I get money from working with other people, so financially my eggs are in a different basket, and I can just do this song and put it out as an NFT with the project I'm releasing.
Yeah.
And I don't have so much attachment. It's really cool because it's my brother's song. I took one of my brothers appropriately. My brother, I have 3 brothers: Shlomo, Aryay, Ailey, not in any specific order. Aryay, I stole his name. Shlomo, I stole his song, and now I'm putting that out, and it's kind of like paying homage to like where I grew up. It's like it's his
Yeah.
song. I changed it and changed the production. And it's more like Phineas, like big, epic Billie Eilish kind of thing.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Oh, you heard it?
Oh yeah, you showed me it.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank
You
you.
can own that song.
Yeah,
on
you can
April
own that with a
27th.
small fee of
Explain that part of it though, because I think
that's on him. I don't fucking
Well,
understand.
I've been lucky enough to be in the room, you know, and get to ask you a bunch of questions, Kurt, and get an actual answer, not just some Google and try to pick it together.
Yeah.
And also, Amy has her podcast, and I've been learning a lot on that.
Yeah.
Explain kind of just in a short synopsis how this works. So he puts out his NFT.
Yeah.
What does everybody else do?
Oh, as in the consumers, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, before I even get into that, I think it's kind of cool with what he's saying. Like, it's like he has all this old IP, his old intellectual property is just sitting around kind of. Like, he has all these photos he's taken for all these years that are just sitting on his hard drive. He also has a song that you kind of recorded that song originally a little bit ago, right?
a couple years ago.
Yeah. So that's another form of IP sitting there. And then it's also in this new forum where the pressure is kind of off of him. He doesn't have to like make an Aryay song and do all the
Right.
branding and all of that stuff. So it's like, I guess if anything, the benefit for Mickey and a lot of people in this space is like there's a lot of old IP or any sort of intellectual property that you can put out there and monetize. So instead of it sitting on a hard drive, you could actually like maybe get a little bit of money on it and then support your career in turn. So like the thing that I'm wanting to do with him and hopefully everyone else and even myself is like this is a way for us to support our actual creative ideas because Mickey produces for a lot of people now, but a lot of times he's keeping the formula going. Not every song, but I know that he can speak on this. But I feel like you kind of have to keep up with like what the algorithm wants and what Spotify wants.
Sure.
And what all
I mean,
of that
Bradley,
is.
same
Yeah.
thing for sure.
And so like we're caught in this rat race. I'm guilty of it too. Okay, well, this is a current EDM sound. I got to make something similar to stay relevant, to get plays, to get all of those things. But the cool thing with the NFT space, at least right now, it feels like early SoundCloud. It feels like this early infant stage where different music genres can come out, different ideas can come out. We're kind of releasing his photo album first with the incentivization of music, which is kind of cool. We're supporting his music by releasing it through a different channel. So I'm just excited for him and a ton of other people that just have a lot of dope IP, dope music that can go out into this new marketplace and actually see the light of day and just get off these hard drives and like actually push things forward. Like one other little goal I'm hoping for this, like back in the day, a lot of music came out on blogs, and a genre of music that came out of that was blog house. They called it that. It was like a specific genre of music because everyone was posting it on these blogs. I feel like there's going to be like NFT house or whatever. Like there's going to be a genre of music that comes out from releasing it through this NFT thing.
I mean, it's kind of like what hyperpop is right now. Hyperpop is based off the meme world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what it's built off. It's almost like a happy hardcore.
Yeah, happy
modern
hardcore comes to mind for sure.
Modern day. Every time I think of happy hardcore, I think of that one video under the bridge of all the people
where they're all like
dancing on their own.
Yeah,
That's my favorite. So, how did you get into NFTs? Where did you find out about them, and how long has it been since you've been kind of working on it?
This is the funny thing. It goes back to Mickey because I'm always trying to put him up on music and up on things, and I'm always sending him random shit. And 90% of the time, I get like the thumbs up on my things. Not really, but like he's just like, whatever, dude, you're on some weird shit. But this is funny. Him and I went out to lunch one day, and he was like, yo, you're on Clubhouse, right? Like he just assumed I was on it or whatever. I was like, what the fuck is Clubhouse? He's like, dude, it's like this app you can just like talk to people. He's like, I'm gonna see if I can invest in it. I feel like this is the future. I was like, what? And I was like, what? And I was like, yo, send me an invite. He's like, I don't have it. And I was like, what? And that of course drew me into Clubhouse a little bit. Finally, I got invited in, and then I just was like on Clubhouse in mid-pandemic where we were all just kind of sitting indoors, and like that kind of started to like become a little pastime of mine. And just like I'm into beekeeping, and just like I'm into fucking all these weird things, growing all sorts of weird weeds, whatever I'm doing
Weeds.
on your roof.
on my roof.
Fruit.
I get into things like that's okay. I've never really done drugs, and the reason I am afraid of getting into drugs is because I get into shit. Like I'm like whatever it is, I get so immersed into it that if I do drugs, I think I wouldn't be.
You would just become a shaman.
You'd be really good at them.
Yeah. Well, I'd be good at drugs. Exactly. Is that a good thing? I don't know. But but that going into Clubhouse, I got into fucking Clubhouse so much. Like I was in rooms that like most people weren't in. I was like into like the therapy for Black women room and like listening to like these women like speak on their perspective in life that I don't get to have. When is the chance that like white Kurt gets to just sit in a room full of Black women that get to vent about their problems? And I was like, whoa, this is cool. And then I was also in like a lot of differently abled rooms. I met a bunch of like blind people and like I got to see how they see life, ironically. And I actually got to meet them in real life later on. But
Oh, incredible.
I started like bopping around these different rooms on Clubhouse. And then one day I went into like an NFT room. I was like, what is this? And I heard people talking about it. And I was like, whoa, I love tech. I actually have a tech degree. I've got a coding and design degree. And it was like a weird like kind of thing. They were just speaking my language. I was like, whoa. And my mind started going. And then I started going into more and more NFT rooms. And that's just kind of what it was. It was like that scene in The Matrix when like they plug the cable into him, and they're like, and he comes back, he's like, I know Kung Fu. Like I was having these like massive TED Talks every day on like this new technology. And so that's kind of what it was.
It's so funny when Kurt got hype on it is when I bowed out.
Yeah, I went
As soon
Clubhouse.
as it every room became an NFT room, I was like, what the fuck is happening on this app? Like the app started as like I don't know if I was on like early Clubhouse, but like it was producers talking their shit. And I was like, this is fun.
I was on really, really early just because somebody sent me an invite.
Yeah.
I don't think I fell in love with it as much as I like it.
I
like
thought it
the
was gonna be
Twitter Spaces
huge.
side now.
Yeah.
Like when I came up to you and I was like, what do I do to get my podcast to more people? You said, get your community. And I said, how do I get my community? You said, there's apps that you can literally tell people what you're doing and then hear their advice and hear how they would do it and learn from people in real time.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable how much you can learn just by sifting through that. Go on once a day and just see what's going on.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And then do you guys still use it now? I guess you said you kind of
No, but
out.
the key word, or not the key word, but the key idea is you have to be interested.
Yeah.
Right? Like even when me and Kurt were strategizing for the NFT drop, he's like, get in these NFT rooms and like see what they're about, see what's going on. And I go in them and it's like, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Like everything they're saying is like, it just doesn't do anything for me. So it's like, you can't fake it.
Yeah.
Well, that's any conversation.
Right. So, right. You wouldn't turn on, I don't know, like a deep mathematics podcast or whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? So that's how I felt about like the NFT rooms. I started listening. I gave them a shot. And that's when the app became, and then every room was an NFT room or a crypto room or whatever. And I was like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the same sort of reason people love podcasts is you just get to hear people speak kind of free form for a little bit about the thing that they're in love with. And people are always going to give you information. If they love it, they're going to know things that maybe you don't know yet. And that's just, it's the inevitable.
I love that concept, but like, the NFT, or not the NFT stuff, but the Clubhouse stuff got super woke, like, and it became this whole like respectfully, I'm gonna speak my truth, and everyone's like talking their truth, and I'm like, dude, I can't, like, the way people are talking is not how people talk in real life, and it's like I can't listen to that.
And it's funny because like all social media, or maybe everything in life, has a birth and a death, and maybe it gets expedited because of technology.
They're
but, like,
so expedite, yeah,
but like. I saw that with you mentioned MySpace earlier, but MySpace was that. It had its moment. It was amazing. We were all on it. We were changing the backgrounds of our pages, learning HTML code, and then that died. And then Facebook came along and had its moment, and then it went up and died. Instagram, is now getting taken over by TikTok. But there's this moment of pure innocence, and then it gets toxic, and then it falls apart. And at least in the NFT space right now, there's still a form of innocence that I'm hoping will stay for a little bit.
Absolutely.
But we don't know. It could die. It could just get destroyed. It's like that scene in Tommy Boy when he has like the biscuit and he's like, oh, I just love it. I love it. And then he like destroys it. Like that's what happens with all of this stuff. That's what happens in life.
Well, maybe that's part of the lesson too. I feel like here we hold on to things a little too much.
Here on Earth,
just like here in like the Western culture.
Okay.
We're so lucky that there's so much going on that it's so easy to let go of topics pretty fucking fast. I mean, think about it. Clubhouse was such a big thing, yet it had less time on top than Livestrong bands did back in the day.
Great analogy.
Wow, I used to shower with that thing on.
I still have one in it's probably not that my parents sold the house, but I had one on the shower forever. And like those things were a big deal for like 5 years, like for a good amount of time.
Yeah.
And I feel like the further into technology we get, the
You
quicker.
think things will look like a trend, like the way it
Yeah.
lives? It was like a trend.
I mean, look at how people dress now. Everything is bringing back.
Yep.
It's not. You don't see people be like, "Wow, I've never seen that before." It's like, okay, I've seen that.
I wish my cousin, he's got a lot to say on all this.
What I was going to say on the bringing it back, though, I think that's a little bit of a reflection of the pandemic right now, because we went through this time of fucking, I don't know, disconnection and all, whatever it was, pandemic shit. But like, we wanted to, I think a lot of people want to go back to the time before. Like, let me just go back to when things were simple and easier. And like, yeah, it's not necessarily everyone's dressing like 2019, but I think they're going back to a time of nostalgia, because nostalgia feels comfortable, and most people like that. Like,
I live and breathe in nostalgia.
yeah, I think we all do. Like, it's my brother's schizophrenic, and he kind of lives in like this, like, I don't know, range of 10 years old, I would say, because I think that was the time before he actually had like the schizophrenic thoughts, whatever was happening. I don't know. I haven't really talked to him, but it seems like he like stays pickled in that state because that feels comfortable.
Absolutely.
And like when he has to deal with his current version, it's hard. So why not go back to this comfort?
It's like a self-soothing sort of thing.
Yeah, of course,
right?
man.
But
I mean, a lot of people you can see live in those moments in their lives too.
I think everybody's got a version of that too. There's just some people hold on to it for longer. I mean, I would consider music to be that for me. Like if I'm having a shitty day and I go sit on the drums, I'm not thinking about how my day's getting better. I'm thinking about how I used to play drums when I was 10 years old in a 5x5 foot room in my parents' basement, and how easy it was to do that, knowing that there was no sale after it. There was no profits. There's nothing I needed to do outside of just do that.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And that's my Band-Aid for the moments or whatever. And everybody's got that, and some people have it from a lot longer ago. Some people have it from not long ago, and they're just trying to get moments that were there a month ago.
But you said Band-Aids, man. But like, I don't know if that's framing it in like in a bad way. You know, like, oh, it's like a way I can heal or whatever. But like, how about that's just you being your true self in that moment? Because there's so much other shit we have to deal with in our lives that take us away from our true self. Bills, drama, fucking whatever's on Fox News, whatever it is taking away from our true selves. Then in that moment where you're on those drums, you are you, 100%.
100%.
So like,
Yeah. And kind of what we were talking about a while ago, and how you were saying how during our first podcast, which is so, I listen to parts of it all the time whenever I scroll past it, because it's weird,
That's
because
when we first met.
we first
Literally
met that
the
day,
day we met. Yeah.
and you've been quite literally one of my closest friends of all time since that day.
Yeah.
And
that's
I always
wild.
tell people that, like, when I walked into that room and there was like you and 3 other guys who were,
David,
and then your friend with the beard and the
Scottish,
yeah,
and Dean was there.
just like
and- yeah.
real characters, but
Yeah.
in the same way that I'm a character, I guess.
Yeah.
Which was like so comforting. And I forget why I brought that up, but I'm sure there was a reason.
That's all right.
that everyone's their own avatar
Every-
right now.
For real, everybody. What's your thoughts on meta and that whole
Oh god.
world?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I was going to even say, too, that just the avatar thing or whatever, and to kind of go on that, is like, we kind of are our own avatars in this ecoverse. We can show up with the little vintage shirt you got on, show up with your little Yeezus shirt over there.
I could look like a paisan.
Yeah, this guy over here with the chest hair. Come on. But yeah, I don't know. Like, but I guess for the meta thing or whatever, too, like, I don't even know. I don't even know if I want to go down that road, other than that all I'll say about the metaverse is like, we are in it right now. We're recording this on a computer right now. We probably were on our phone before this.
Yeah.
We talk about technology. We participate in technology. Like, we've been in the metaverse, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like this like whole VR thing that people think the metaverse is like, yeah, that might be an extension.
That's
of
why it's like a natural transition.
yeah. But I don't know if necessarily if it will be fully into that, like that form of what it is.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be like we're going to be kind of bridging with technology a whole lot more, and that's what the metaverse is. And if you want to talk about NFTs for 2 seconds, and that's just like that's almost like a wallet for us to transact in the metaverse, as well as participate and use what we transact in the metaverse or the digital side into the physical side. It's my 2 cents on it.
Speaking of that, you were one of the first people to kind of connect the worlds.
Yeah.
How do you think, in the same way you implemented, and I guess I can kind of explain to people that don't know, you created a vape pen
Yeah.
that the bottom of it has blockchain technology.
Yeah.
And
That had to be like the earliest.
Yeah, man. There
thing.
wasn't they call it now phygital, physical to digital. But yeah, man, that was with everything. I'm like, I get involved in it and I'm like, okay, what are they not doing? And I was like, there wasn't any way to like there wasn't any way to like take something physical and create a digital thing and then you have ownership of it. And so I did that. I had this vape you can smoke, like you said, and there's that technology on it. Plug it into your computer, you get NFTs with it. And yeah, it was like, I just felt like we needed to participate. We needed to make that moment when I used to go to the record store as a kid and then like get this record and like I spend my $10 on this record and now I have this physical thing that means so much to me and I can like have that look at it and that creates a nostalgia experience, all of that. But then I was noticing in the NFT space, it wasn't that. It's like, I bought a JPEG and then you like flex it online. Oh, I got this ape or whatever. I was just like, how can we make it so it actually has a tangible thing that feels good and there's something attached to it even more than just like this JPEG? Like, yeah, that's part of it, but that's not like the moment.
How do you think the phygital side of it is going to expand into like more of the layman's world, connecting the people that maybe aren't in the NFT world into it? I feel like that's how you're going to be able to do it. And I think that's kind of how you told me about it when we first talked about it. Is you're like, this is how you can get people that aren't on the computer into the computer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, again, it's back to the vinyl thing or whatever. It's just like creating a moment and creating an experience. And yeah, NFTs are the new buzzword, or Web3 or whatever you want to call it, is the new buzzword for you to have that ownership. But like, I keep saying it on this podcast, but it's like, it's all about validation, man. Like at the end of the day, we want to be validated. We want to know the most about music, probably us in this room. We want to tell everyone we know the most about like music and this, and like, we want to be validated. And I think with NFTs, it's a way to be validated in this digital place that most of us spend our time in. Like,
absolutely,
we're always on our phones. We're always flexing online. Maybe a tweet we put out is going to be validation to like our knowledge, but these NFTs are almost like the Lamborghini of the digital world. It's like, okay, I can flex. I own this. I have this. It validates me as who I am in this experience that I'm living in.
Yeah. Well,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Because me and my boy Crash, who you know, he's a writer.
Incredible writer.
Yeah, he's fantastic. We've been working a lot together. We were talking about NFTs yesterday and saying how it's so silly. Like, I was telling him about my project and he's like, "Oh, that's actually dope because it's like you're sharing your life, right?"
Yeah.
And then we were talking about like there's all these music sites like Royal and Sound XYZ, and this is no shade at them. It's just the concept is like, what are you actually buying?
Yep.
Right? It's like, what are you buying?
Yep.
Are you buying something to show people? That's why it's interesting. You're like, oh, it's the Lamborghini of that.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. Because if you're buying Diplo drops an NFT on Royal and you're buying 0.2% of, or whatever tiny fraction of a percentage, you're not getting any real return on that financially. So it's not investing in the same way you would invest in an art piece.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real, unless the song gets 70 billion streams, like maybe then you'll make some serious money. But like, obviously songs don't really do that unless, whatever. That's not the point. The point is, it's just like, what are you buying?
Yep.
So that concept is a little lost on me. And as much as I like sort of understand NFTs, there's certain things where I'm just like, I have no idea what.
Well, I was going to say to the Diplo thing, where they are going wrong with their platform, if I would fix is like, you're saying, yeah, you're going to own point whatever of a song, and of course that doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't
to
mean
anyone.
it, yeah.
But the person who's buying it, if there was a way that Royal could make it so they could flex that they own a piece of a Diplo record.
Can you not do that?
I mean, they can with that little JPEG that they
Right,
get, but I think they should do it in more of a grandiose way. I think is where it's falling short, because the royalties themselves are trash. We all know that in this room. We make doo-doo on fucking records.
Yeah.
So that doesn't matter. It isn't about the royalties to those holders.
It's about being like, I was part of this. It's merch. It's just merch.
Yes, it is 100%. It's merch. It's a way for you to flex amongst your community that you are a owner of this.
So why are people spending $900 on a Diplo t-shirt, which is the essential? That's like what it is.
Yeah.
I guess he had some cool things where it's like, oh, you get a guest list pass.
Yeah, and guess what that is? Guess what that is? They're going to have a moment to flex. They're going to take a photo. I met Diplo. So they paid money for that experience. And this is all stuff that happened in Web 2 in the old world, is just like a way to purchase experience if you're affluent enough to purchase it. Oh, I got a bottle because I'm rich enough. I got to be next to Diplo. It's all the same thing. It's just translated.
So that's why it's just so silly to me.
Because you don't
it's
resonate.
Just something I would never do. And if I had an obscene amount of money, I guess I would pay to like hang out with, I don't know, whatever celebrity I'm a fan of. I don't know. I know
I
it's
can't
coming to
see
mind.
you paying to hang
Yeah.
out with a celebrity.
But when you have obscene amounts of money, it's
Yeah, I
like you don't
guess.
care anymore,
But
right? You're
but that's
just
the
like,
thing is like that. I know you wouldn't do that. You're not that type of human. But
maybe I would if I had that much money though. Maybe you just like when,
Once you sell these NFTs, man, we'll go take you out to the club.
we'll go hang out with
Well,
Martin Garrix.
you know we're getting that Toro though. That's your flex.
I'll buy you some raw fish.
Yeah, this man, when it's a celebratory moment, we buy the fattiest Toro.
We get the best
It's
tuna we
the-
can
oof.
find.
I feel like though what you were telling me about like when people are spending $250,000 on a bored ape
Yep.
or whatever animal.
No, but
is
that I
pixelated.
understand. That
Well,
I understand because
That's a badge.
Yeah.
no, but it's also it accrues value.
Yeah.
That I understand because you're like it's like buying a stock. You're gambling.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm hoping the stock goes up. But if you're buying a 0.2% of a song that's going that's already hit its peak or whatever, it's like it's not going anywhere.
But no, you're also. What if that song gets put in the new Succession series?
You don't get shit. You don't.
But I'm saying that becomes the new big song. That becomes the new Gangnam Style. or
It has
whatever.
to. I'm telling you, like it has to have at least a couple billion streams.
Right, but
which,
to argue with that, same with the Bored Ape thing. The Bored Ape thing is that Gangnam Style moment. Yeah, 1,000 people make all these fucking animals all the time. I'm getting shilled them all the time, and none of them are selling out. None of them are making any money.
yeah.
But the Bored Ape is the Gangnam Style of this. And with you buying into the Diplo thing, you're hoping that
That it
since
becomes-
Diplo is the dude here, then that will become the Bored Ape of the music NFTs. Of course,
I think
you're-
that's a lousy
you're-
investment.
Yeah, but you have the inside view on what the music industry
You don't even need an
is.
inside view. You look at the streams. You just
Yeah.
look at the streams, and I guess you pray that it gets and becomes the biggest TikTok ever.
Yeah,
or
yeah, you
something.
I
never
feel
know.
like depends how much it's split up by though, because like if Diplo split up his song by 300 slots,
But I'm saying it's not like that.
yeah, well that's what
That's
you'd
what
have
me and
to.
Kurt were talking about, and that's what me and my homie Crash were talking about. My homie Crash wants to do a thing where it's like, hey, you're getting a real master percentage. Like, I'm gonna put this song up. That like the idea was like me and him made a song called Ed Sheeran's "A Dick,"
Mhm.
and no one's heard it yet, but the people that have heard it are like quite into it because it's a very polarizing idea. But the point being, like, let's say we post a clip of Ed Sheeran's "A Dick" on TikTok and it goes crazy. Song's not out yet. So then we have a website, an NFT website, where it's like, you want 50% of the master on Ed Sheeran's "A Dick"? It's not out yet. Are you willing to risk 50K?
Totally.
That makes more sense to me because you're like, it's proof of concept. You see the songs doing well on social media,
Mhm.
and then you're willing to like throw the money behind it.
And one thing I was gonna say, a lot of times people are like, "Oh, we can make it NFT." You don't even need to do that in NFT thing. You could actually just Web2 do all of that. You could give someone royalty percentages. on
Sure,
their song.
the
What-
NFT thing is
what-
just
what
the
are-
buzzword / the smart contract helps with
Yeah,
that stuff.
exactly. And I'm immersed in the NFT space, but I'm just telling you, it's funny because all of these problems can be solved currently
Sure,
too. You know what I'm
sure.
saying?
Well,
Like,
that's why the whole thing never made sense to me.
yeah,
What if you could use the songs though as a badge in the same way? What if
yeah.
you said, okay, I'm releasing a new song. I have 3,000 slots that you can buy into at different increments.
Yeah.
And you went and you worked with 30 different nightclub chains around the country.
Yep.
And every time somebody buys in, they get a front of the line spot at this nightclub. That's
Yeah.
super hard to get in. Maybe they wouldn't get into otherwise.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
It's a
there
cool
has to be just like you were saying, there has to be a prize at the end of the tunnel. There has to be something that you're
Yeah.
gaining.
Yeah.
And like with the Bored Ape, you go. I think you were the one who told me this. You can walk up to some clubs in Miami.
Yeah,
and
they
you
have
pull that
like
shit
a,
out.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's your pass.
right. And they
And-
have like their own video game or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
like,
There's and what we call the NFT space is utility. That's the utility that comes with that JPEG that you own. You
Right.
get other things, but yeah, it's like Pepsi points or something too. It's just like it's like
the Monopoly,
yeah,
McDonald's.
yeah, exactly.
It's all, to be honest, like, and this is again no shade at like this whole thing. It's just like it's so. I just don't understand. Like, I understand it, but I don't get it.
the cool
Me
thing.
too.
But I think that's what I guess is a cool thing about it is that we're living in a start of a new trend real time. Like everything is happening real time. Like it isn't like this underground thing that's like grew its legs and then it comes to the light. It's like building its legs as it's getting built in front of everybody.
Yeah, there's no slow expansion. It's happening in real time.
Yeah, and that's I think what everything is going to be moving forward. There's going to be music genres, there's going to be companies, there's going to be so much that just happens real time in front of us. Even Kanye puts out music
Right.
where it's not fully finished. Shout out Yeezus. That Kanye is putting out music.
He's fucking. That's cool.
Yeah, but he's putting it out real time in front of everybody, and I think that that's what this is. Like everything is open source now. Everything is like could have a Discord attached to it and have like a community of people help supporting that too.
But a bigger discussion is then there's no finality to things, which I don't like.
Yeah.
Because there's no like, my same homie, the writer homie, was like, I told him I was listening to Life of Pablo the other day, first time I listened to it since it came out, just to like really see how good it was. And I texted my cousin too, and I was like, man, this album's incredible. And then the writer homie re-listens to Life of Pablo, and he was like, I don't remember this part. So Kanye went back and like changed certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like, everyone knows like the Vic Mensa verse was added, and then Frank Ocean was added at the end of Wolves. Like those little things. There's something about finality that like you go back and listen to a Beatles record, and you're like, first of all, fucking John's dead, George is dead. Like it's done. It's
Well, that
done.
is the finality.
That's the
of it.
finality. It's just I don't like this idea of an ever altering thing with music, and maybe that's just me being like an old head or whatever. But like,
I agree, though. I think that
I like it's like, dude, you made a fucking decision, and I'll live with it.
well, and there's something sexy about getting like what you were saying. Like when you go to that record store and you grab the vinyl, there's nothing being added. That's done. You go sit in your room, you shut your eyes, you lay on the bed, and you listen to the Pink Floyd album or
Yeah.
whatever it is, back to front.
And you're not gonna go and listen on Spotify, and there's gonna be a new version of that. It's like it's done.
But
It's-
maybe that's how this space keeps everlasting and growing. And like the
but that's
finality.
like, it's like sorry to cut you off. It's like the ADD culture.
Yeah.
It's like it's just playing into the culture of like we gotta keep everything's always changing and moving. And
I think that's the direction, though. Like, so compared to 5 years ago, like we were saying earlier, trends or whatever it is lasts a lot shorter. It's shorter, it's shorter, it's shorter. What happens when we get to the point where, you know, the new best clothes to wear are for 24 hours and that's it?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what comes next? Are people eventually going to start doing 30-song albums that are completely done and they're 8-minute songs and like going back to the place where
you're
it's?
saying like go back.
Do you think it's going to
Yeah.
start like
I
I
don't
feel like
think
we're getting
so.
smaller?
I think it's getting
Yeah.
smaller. Because when I'm in a session, we finish a song, we always check to make sure it's like right around 2 minutes, and it's like 2 minute mark. You're like, you made it.
But like
You
2
gotta
years ago
finish
was
song.
3 minutes, and 10
Exactly.
years ago was
Like
3:30
minutes.
to 5
yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
All of this is like a attention economy. Like
Yeah.
we're we're in the middle of an attention economy thing, and it's all based on algorithms, and it's all based on like what we live in, the current world we live in. I mentioned Fox News earlier, but Fox News has to compete with an algorithm that is spoon fed to that person. Like that algorithm is giving this person like a spoon fed version of what they want to see. So Fox News has to compete. How do they do that? They have to put this fear like in people's faces and like keep them attentive by like constantly just like berating them with information. And I think that that's why the whole Will Smith smack thing, my theory is that it was rigged. It was made up because who gave a fuck about the Oscars for however long?
Nobody.
Old TV, old world has to compete with spoon-fed curation over and over and over again. And the only way that you can fucking make people to pay attention is slap them in the fucking face.
Yeah.
And that's what they did.
like a metaphor,
And now people care about the Oscars. Now people
Yeah.
care about that moment. Maybe they don't care about who won the Oscars, but they care about the Oscars.
Interesting.
2023 Oscars rolls around, they're going to be like, yo, I'm going to watch the Oscars. There could be a bloodbath.
They're
There could be
expecting
another car
something.
accident there.
Yeah.
At least my theory on it, but I don't know. It's just, that's what it all is competing with the attention economy. Same with these short songs where you're talking about, oh, the song has to be 2 minutes. We got to make it short because someone's going to press skip. So we need to make as much impact happen in that short amount of time as we can.
Do you think that's going to come to an end, though? Do you think that this?
Yeah.
Well, like fashion, right? Like you're
Yeah.
saying how it. I hope it does.
Do you think we're going to get to a time when a decade does have a piece of clothing that feels like that? Like with the 60s and 70s, people weren't, you know, wearing shit like this and wearing sideways baseball caps.
Yeah.
Like it was shit like this the whole time.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to get back to a point where people are so sick of things being so short and and outlived so quickly.
I'm going to say to what I was speaking earlier from my personal life experience, I had the decadent meals. I had all the girls. I had all the crazy shit, blah, 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 blah. But I care the most about hanging out at Shabbat and spending time with you guys. So me personally, I would rather have something of taste that lasts longer and I can enjoy than this single serving moment that just is like a flash in the pan. So
I agree.
maybe the world just needs to catch up. I don't know, but I do feel like everything in our reality is binary. The yin yang symbol is binary. The ocean waves go out, the oceans come in, seasons change, whatever, blah blah blah. Use all these things. It's a binary, but like life is that gray area in between the binary. I feel like, and I think that we're just in the middle of that. We're in an extreme right now, and there's going to be an extreme the other way. And yeah, we'll see when that comes. People always get sick of shit. They're gonna want something more tangible.
Let's bring back some Livestrong bracelets.
Yes, bro. Let's bring back.
I wonder if we'll see that in our lives. I don't know.
Which part? The calm. The
I'm specifically thinking of music. Like I
pendulum?
wonder if we'll see, longer songs because it just seems like
yeah, man.
We're getting back to bands.
Yeah.
Bands are bigger than they've been in 10 years.
Yeah.
I think for the first time ever, there's kids out there now, or not for the first time ever, for the first time in a while, there's kids out there that are going, not saying that I want to be the next Diplo. They're saying I want to be the next Blink-182.
Yeah.
And that was my childhood, and now it's coming back. And so I feel like there's got to be there's always sway. And it's always changing, and people are doing whatever, are going towards the opposite of what they're doing at the moment.
Right.
And I feel like that has to lend itself towards longer content again. And like what happens when TikTok sees its demise,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always the opposite.
It's like hard to picture, which is funny because I feel like it just came out.
Is there going to be a next TikTok or a next Vine, or is it going to be a new YouTube where people are doing 5-minute videos or longer?
Maybe back to that gray area thing. Like it's just and both. We can do both. Like I think that we're in this thing. It's like, oh, if you choose right, then you fucking stay right. You stay right.
Yeah,
and if
yeah.
you choose left, you stay left. But maybe what this is we need to swing both ways so extreme that we actually find a common ground in the middle. And so you can sit there on the toilet and scroll on TikTok, and then you can go outside and enjoy the nature. And like, I don't know. I think that there can be both. Like I think that's truly what it is. It's like, maybe the media we consume is single serve, so we can go enjoy the points of life that are longer and savory.
Yeah, finding the balance again.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why shit's so kind of wiggly and weird right now, is that the balance isn't there, and society's trying to find that again.
Yeah, man. And I mean, if it was the universe, if it was divine, if it was just an accident or whatever, but the pandemic was such a fucking blessing for, I think, all of us. Like we got to take a moment to pause, slow the fuck down, maybe take inventory of ourselves on an individual level, but also on a societal level. And like a lot of my friends are coming out of this pandemic now in this like almost rebirth moment. Like this is a like phoenix from the ashes kind of moment where they're trying to get their footing again and like getting the crust out their eyes. They're coming back to reality, but we get to come out from all the shit that we just learned over the past 2 years. It's kind of crazy, and we get to go move forward in a new way. And I'm excited for this moment. I really do feel like it. Like after the last pandy, there was like a renaissance, and I think this renaissance is going to be a similar thing right now. Maybe not cultural art, I don't know, but like there's going to be a renaissance with people. I'm hoping. I don't know though.
I'm curious if though, because of the times, because everything is so short-lived right now, if it's going to be something that's as remarkable of a renaissance. Like you look back at post the last pandy, and it was like there was 10 years of rebirth.
Yeah.
Versus now it's like you get your shit together, get up and start working again. It's like we're almost missing that rebirth moment. It's in trying to take off from where we were originally.
Yeah.
And I feel like that could be, I don't know, that could be tough for a lot of people who are trying to find their foot. You know, we all were lucky and we know what we want to do, and we found what we wanted to do pre all this bullshit.
Yeah.
And there's always bullshit, but pre this version of it.
Yeah.
I'm curious if there's going to be kids that are growing up right now with the understanding of what they want to do for the rest of their life in the same way that a lot of people had, back in the day.
Yeah. I don't know. Like there's so many different examples of what you can be right now. I see so many humans with decision fatigue. Like it's so hard to make a solid decision because career-wise, life-wise, restaurant-wise, like we have so many options right now. Even like people getting into relationships. People are like not building strong relationships with a partner because it's just so there's all these other decisions out there. I can just swipe right and pick someone new because you sneezed wrong or something like.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, man. I'm hoping that there will be something there. I'm like trying to stay optimistic, but I don't know, man. Maybe there's just too many decisions right now.
I've also seen a lot of people don't want the family aspect, the having kids, the getting married, all that seems less important to a lot of people now because they see what people are being born into.
Yeah.
And it's kind of freaky. I wonder if people during World War II were stopping having kids as much because they were like, I don't want my kids being born into this.
Yeah, I wonder.
You know, do you think it's gonna be a big fault to a whole generation? I'm curious if it's gonna be if there's gonna be less of us in the next 30 years that pop up versus you know the past. There's more opportunity than ever now.
Yeah.
But less people wanting to kind of bring more into the world.
Yeah. Do you have anything on that, Mickey?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say like how that. I feel like things just ebb and flow, and maybe our generation. There's a Offspring song. Nothing changes 'cause it's all the same. The one you get's the one you give. Way down the line. This is called. It's like that. It's like our generation might have less kids, and then the one after us will be like, we gotta overcompensate, and then they'll have too many kids, and then it feels like everything ebb and flows. And I mean, it's definitely easy to see. I'm 31, and so many of my close friends don't have kids, and my mom and all her friends were having kids at like 20, early 20s.
Yeah.
And so it's just like clearly something's changed, but that doesn't mean that the next generation won't overcompensate. I don't know how those things.
Yeah, I guess
play
it's I guess
But
it's
definitely
where you're at.
in our lifetime, in my experience, like most of my close friends don't really have families and kids, and it seems like people are less interested in that for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm curious to see what direction it goes, but I don't know. I guess that's also the type of shit you can't really
It's hard
sit
to
on
it's
too
hard
long.
to predict.
Yeah.
It's so wild. So let's go past all the demise of the world. Where are you two as far as music? I'm curious what's next. You said you were coming out with your new song for your NFT. Is that going to be followed by more new music?
Could be. I mean, listen, realistically, if the NFT thing wasn't a factor, I probably would have never put this out. I wouldn't have had the fire lit under me to just like finish it and get it mixed and get my homie to play piano on it and really treat it like a serious song.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's lighting a little fire under. I guess I'll see how it does. Like
Yeah.
I have no expectations. I don't care really, but if it does does well in my book now, it's funny, like on SoundCloud it used to be like, if this song doesn't get 100K plays in 2 days, this is before reposts and whatever the fuck. I was like, oh, this song's a flop,
But
Can
Can I ask you like why you're choosing to keep it moving on the metrics you see and not how you feel? Because you're releasing.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like now I'll be more on how I feel.
Yeah, you think so? So like,
Yeah.
when you said how it goes, the reason why I'm asking is
More. Well, I was gonna say like people reaching out to me and be like, yo, like this is dope. Like
Yeah.
even if it's just like 10 people are like, yo,
Yeah.
this is really cool. Like I'd love to hear more of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
That endorphin hit.
Yeah, it used to be purely like metrics, like you were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Like, oh, did this get X amount of plays? If not, then it's a failure.
What about you try to change something a little? I'm just suggesting this, but like when you put the song out, try to feel how it feels to release a song of yours.
Right.
Because you've been working so long releasing songs for other people that
Right.
like maybe not even looking for the validation from others, but just like how does it feel to complete a song that you've put your heart into and you put it out in the world and you're like, wow, this actually feels good to put this out in the world, and maybe try to keep capturing that feeling for the next one,
It's
whatever
good.
that is.
It'll be interesting to see. I've lived my entire life on validation, like music aside.
Yeah.
Like that's just how I am as a person. It's like, oh, does this person hate me? Does this person, what do they think of me? What do they think of me? Da, da, da. Like playing basketball in 6th grade. Like, did the girl see me make the three? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just how my brain works. Did she see me land that kickflip? Whatever the fuck it was. So it's going to be very hard to detach validation from this, but I'm hoping I put the song out and regardless of, like the metrics, I'm just inspired to finish. I have like probably 2 or 3 other songs in this vein. So maybe it'll inspire me to finish those.
It's so interesting because both of you have seen success in your music. And therefore, what feels like success to other people won't give you that same hit
Yeah,
that
for
it used to.
For sure.
Could you see yourself going back to the playing shows and all that? Was that part of that endorphin hit?
It was, but that's like not even
Not
a thing.
anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Like I would do it for fun.
Yeah,
I would like DJing sounds fun. I haven't DJ'd in probably 4 years.
that's what it should be. It should be fun.
Yeah. And
Yeah, but at that time when it wasn't like
the cool thing is that this song, I mean, you could DJ it.
It's not really a
But
DJable
that's the cool
song,
thing as
yeah.
well, though, is that you can play all the guitar stuff you were talking about, and I've seen you play piano every day and get so much better at piano and all of these things. Like, you can also go out and do that in front of people if you choose to do so.
Sure.
This song could be one of those catalysts, as well as maybe the other things you've been sitting on as well.
Yeah.
Maybe if you guys are lucky, we'll get Mickey to play a show.
Yeah, I doubt that. I remember I went, I think you were with me. It's like the first open mic I ever played, and we were like 16 or 15. It was called Caffeine in Chicago. It's like in Evanston. It's this little coffee bar.
Yeah.
And I went up to play a Sublime cover. I think it was Sublime. And I couldn't get my leg to stop shaking, and my voice was so shaky.
Yeah.
And DJing's just not that. It's not like, it's so easy relative to that in my mind.
Bro, do you know how hard it is to stand on a table?
To make the edit and all
Bro,
that.
do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
understand
I understand. I've been
the
there.
bit rate of MP3 I have to store on my drive?
On the hard drive.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different thing.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I couldn't see myself performing because I'm not confident in my singing. It's more of like an experiment. Like this podcast. So
This
shout out
is
to
an
the
experiment.
little
Hey.
plug. It's more of like just let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
DJing's so different. I used to just get drunk and just press buttons, and I was like having a blast.
It's also just a different time. 5 to 10 years ago,
Yeah.
you know, like the biggest show of the year was a Swedish House Mafia show,
Yeah.
or a Hardwell show, or whatever it was. That's what it was. Now it's Blink 182 coming back, and it's all these other things, and it's just it's more of a going back to what we were talking about before, to the early 2000s or the mid 2000s, the 2010s. That was EDM. Like that time was EDM.
For sure.
Now we're at a point where it's like, oh, these guys like punk music. These guys like this. These guys like singer-songwriters.
Everything's
these
like
guys
a hybrid
folk.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now we're at a point where you can meet, you can go on Spotify and find somebody who's got 100 million followers who you've
And
never
you've never heard
of.
of them. Yeah,
And
and they
you
have
can
like
do
a
that-
song with 1 billion streams, and you've literally never heard of them. You're like, 1 billion?
You
Like,
could do
that's
that
an obscene amount of
all
plays.
day. And also just the sheer quality or quantity of music that you can put out now.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. There's
Yeah.
people that have so much music, and like you see guys like Russ that came out with however many songs he came out with when he first started. Like most people can't even go through all of that.
Yeah.
It's just a different time. You don't need everybody to be a fan. You just need your fan base to be successful.
Yeah, and bringing it to NFTs for 2 seconds, the cool thing about the whole NFT community too is like, let's say it is royalties and all of that music stuff, is like on Spotify you'll get like 1 million plays, let's say, and you make $4,000. That's great, but you might not even get a return on fans in that. Like your stuff gets put on a playlist and people hear it and they go to the gym or whatever, but your song actually doesn't convert to fans.
Absolutely.
The cool thing with the NFT space is even if you get 500 fans and 500 people buy your NFT or whatever, they can actually, now you have a fan base of 500 people that are actually physically invested in you. Like I was saying earlier with the vinyl thing, I paid $10 for the Beastie Boys vinyl when I was a kid, but I invested in Beastie Boys. When they came to town, I went and saw them. So I think that's cool with
That's
this
cool, yeah.
NFT space is like you can actually put your money directly to an artist and then invest in them and then watch them grow. And then also if they grow, their value goes up, your value of investing in them goes up too.
Yeah. It's all about skin in the game now.
Yeah.
People are so fed up with anything that they don't feel connected to.
Yeah.
That skin in the game is really the only way to keep people locked in and keep them to make a project lucrative.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a weird time when you can get millions of plays and still try to figure out how to pay rent.
Yeah. It's so wild,
Yeah.
man. So wild.
Sure.
Hopefully the solutions I'm working on will fix that. Fingers crossed.
Floss is saving the world, guys.
I'm trying to save the musician world.
Where do you see yourself going with music. I know you're doing pretty similar to what you've done for a while.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself changing spaces at all, or changing genres, or going from a different perspective?
So to me, that's what funny it is. But this NFT tech space is that it's my new genre. Like I look at it that way. Like I took a break in 2019 or 2020, like 2 weeks before the pandemic started. I was like, I'm going to take a break off the road. And then the whole world took a break. But that moment, the new genre for who I am was to leave Floss and start my new side project of Kurt, of myself. I wanted to work on
Autobot.
no, like actually of myself. Like I wanted to go through self growth and like to be truthful to myself and deal with all the bullshit that I've been putting aside, running around the world taking shots with hookers or whatever the fuck was happening. Not that I was doing that, but I'm just saying it was like my life was so intense for so long that I needed to get back in touch with myself. I was so removed from myself. So that was what 2020 was. And then coming out of that, I still like I have this new form of a little bit of Floss, a little bit of Kurt, that's my name, a little bit of Kurt, a little bit of Floss, maybe a little bit of baking soda in a pot, and then you mix that shit up. And now the new crack that I'm on is this NFT shit. That's my new genre. So like, I don't know, that's what it is. And the cool thing is now I get to bridge all that. I get to bridge who I am as a person in this tech, weird, creative space. And I get to bridge like the music Flosstradamus side into this. And so that's kind of what this new thing is. It isn't necessarily in
Right. It's not like a change in the actual like approach to music. It's just a change in everything.
Yeah.
And like surrounding it.
Yeah, 100%, man.
And
Like,
then your
that's-
approach changes too.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
based on the direction you're coming from now. I mean, it's completely different than 10 years ago
I
jumping on
just
a
mean
table.
it's not a change in like how we're gonna sit down and make a song per
I see.
se.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and the cool thing is that now when I am writing music and doing music stuff, it's kind of fun again, like I said earlier. But it's just like I can have fun with this again in a way that's just inspiring and different, and like I can come back to music in it with an innocence and not like I have to clock in for work.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm discovering now. Like I need to get some of these like little NFT things like his out and a couple more things that I'm doing, building in this Liberated brand, like get those rolling and then come back to this music thing and just like see what that feels like again, full on. Like I'm out here touring, I'm still doing shows and
Absolutely.
I'm still releasing songs here and there, but like I want to kind of lean more heavy into music once I have time and focus for that.
How do you juggle so much? I know you said that you've burnt out, and I can't imagine anybody wouldn't at some point.
Yeah.
Especially in the career you've had, which has just been so successful for so long. How are you still doing it? How do you still find the will and the love to get on stage when you've done it probably more than most people ever?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just like I'm finding passion in everything I do. Like I get stoked. Like every day I'm working on this NFT stuff, or if I go and play a show, like I still have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm getting older, man. It's like it's a little bit harder to be on the road. Like I like going and playing shows, but like touring is a little more grueling. It's a young man's game, and I'm 40 now, so it's like it's just I need to redefine what that is for my career. I'm trying to build up this NFT liberated tech brand that I've got going on. So then I can be choosy with the type of shows I play. And like, I can go out and give my fans like specific curated, really well thought out events and not just play like spot dates throughout the country and random clubs and stuff is my goal.
Like a few years ago, probably a few years before the pandemic, Grant,
Yeah.
who I grew up with, and he was my inspiration for starting a lot of this. He told me that he was on the road so much that he was, and I'm kind of changing the words a little bit, but he wanted a way to find experiences in what he's doing again.
Yeah.
And give people experiences, and stopped kind of doing the show to show thing and doing these big events that were multi-day and multifaceted.
Yep.
Could you see yourself doing something like that combines the NFT world with?
Oh, 100%, man. Like I'm definitely, there's a lot of tech forward things I tried to do in Floss a long time ago. Like back when we played Lollapalooza, Bud Light gave us a bunch of money to do something. And I wanted to do this thing that now everyone is doing. I wanted to have a drone show that was like curated to my show. Everyone is doing that now. Like they do it at Burning Man, they do it at Coachella, they do it at EDC now. But that was back in 2014 or something. I was trying to do that. And one other thing I did in 2013, South by Southwest, is I made these Wi-Fi lunch boxes. And
I remember that.
yeah,
That was so
man.
cool.
And that was like early NFT. We made these lunch boxes. We put them all over South by Southwest, and they could make it so you could connect to this lunchbox. You would get music, Flosstradamus music. You get like backgrounds for your phone.
Such a cool idea.
It was. They call them POAPs now, or they call them NFTs now. We were pretty much giving out these like rare things if you connected to these Wi-Fi lunchboxes. They also told where we were performing.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've always been doing really cool stuff with tech around Floss and our shows.
Mhm.
That like that's what I want to get back to again. Like bring that back into my show. Have an experience that the fan can take home that is like kind of tech forward. But like I said, I'm still out here playing like clubs. Like I played clubs this past weekend, and I still love it, but I need to be selective and be like Grant and just like give fans an experience again. Because the old Flosstradamus shows were that, and I got put in the rat race of just being a DJ. And not at the end of the day, I'm not just a DJ. I want to make experiences happen.
Absolutely. I mean, when I was growing up, and me and 10 of my friends, I mean, I've been to many of your shows growing up, but one that really, the block party one was a huge one. And I've been to a bunch of the block parties, but the one in Royal Oak that I went to, it didn't feel like a show. It felt like an event.
Yeah.
In whatever that difference is. It felt like this, like I didn't say I went to a Flosstradamus show or to a major laser show. I went to block party, and
Yeah.
it felt like that.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that people are missing out on right now, that they don't have as much of, is this thing that kind of feels like rather than walking into a show, you're walking into a community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm very, very blessed that like peak Flosstradamus, we had a community. Like you would look out in the crowd and everyone had a warning sign logo on, or if it wasn't, look at
Holding it
that,
up.
throwing it up. Yeah, they would hold up the Hoodie Nation sign. They'd have it on them. If it wasn't our show and it was a music festival and someone else had a warning sign, there was community that could be built between those people in the crowd. And then even on stage, our shows, we put a car on stage with we got this old Honda and chopped it in half and put it on stage and like had giant spotlights. And there's a moment in the set where we manually grab these spotlights and shine them on the crowd and open up the mosh pit and like have all these moments. Like it became more of a show and like more of a moment. It was almost like an off-Broadway show at an EDM concert. And I do want to get back to that, at least that energy in whatever form that can be.
Absolutely.
I've been distancing myself from it a little bit so I can come back to it with that fresh perspective.
Yeah, and just you're building the tech side of it right now.
Yeah.
You're building something that eventually will become the show and can kind of meld together. But I guess you do kind of have to build the two separate parts and then nail them together.
Yeah, and then I guess the last thing on all the rant is that the cool thing about what I'm trying to do now is like I get to share it with everybody. Like I'm working hard on this NFT thing that I get to share it with Mickey and help him out with his thing. Maybe with me building out the show stuff, it might be for Floss, but it might be for other artists to use. Maybe there's some tech side of this that like anybody can use. And so for me, it's just more about like sharing the wealth now.
Absolutely.
And then just hoarding it for myself.
And on that, if Danny was here, I'd have him sitting here and talking with us too, because the reason I put you two together, outside of the fact that you introduced me to him, and you're both two very special people in my life, but you're the two people that when I have a question, I ask, and it's not a text back like, hey, try this. It's hey, let me hook you up with this guy. Let me help you through this roadblock that you're going through. I want to see you through it. I want to make sure that you're doing okay. I want to make sure that it's working, and I want to make sure that if it's not, that we can figure out something that does.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been a really, really important thing that I've had in my life, and I haven't had that in a very long time, especially not from people that have to love me, that are family, and I've got a great family, and I'm so lucky for that. But I've been out here 6 years, and it took me 5 years to find what I consider to be the reason I want to stay here, and that's this community, that's going to these Shabbats. That's being able to call you guys up and know that if I'm wrong on whatever I'm asking about, it's not going to be met with grief. It's going to be met with help, and I'm going to learn and I'm going to gain from it.
Yeah.
And it's a big reason I've got this podcast, and the big reason that I found music again, and all these things that at the end of the day, I just need to thank the two of you for helping me create a life that I've been looking for a very long time. And I think with that, hopefully whoever's watching this will be able to find the same sort of love in their life that I'm lucky enough to find. And you get texts from me all the time. Just I feel like it's important to thank the people that maybe have a thankless job sometimes. And this is it. This is that.
That's what being friends are for, buddy.
Yeah. And to me, the thank you doesn't even come in the words "thank you." It's like you winning as a
Yeah,
thank
it's
you
like
enough.
right. It's like seeing you do something that you asked me about, and then a week later you're doing it. It's like
Yeah.
great,
Yeah,
amazing.
man.
Well, that's a big part of it. If somebody tells you to do something and you trust them, you have two options. You can ask them a question and then fuck off and not expect to go anywhere. Or if you find people that you trust and that have been through the ringer and you listen to them, there's a pretty fucking high chance that they're going to be right, or at least more right than the knowledge that you didn't have
Sure.
before.
Yep.
You know, and
I've been bothering Kurt with questions for what would we say, 13 years?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
you told me that originally, and now I've been bothering both of you with questions,
Yeah.
and I never really feel like I'm bothering you guys. And I'm sure there's times I
I
can't
feel
imagine.
like I'm bothering Kurt. I still.
The amount of times I blocked him on AOL Instant Messenger. Shoo.
What was it? Contact Kurt? No, it was. What was your screen name?
Well, I was Sexy Eyes 02,
I wasn't
Which
there.
is-
I wasn't
which
there for
was-
that.
a lyric from Paul Wall. I was Doja Wody.
I wasn't there for
I was
that.
DJ Autobot.
That's what I think. That's what it was.
I was DJ Autobot, my
Yeah.
old DJ name.
Yeah.
I was
Petty
B,
Cash too.
Nah, I was the Autobot one.
I was B to the rad.
Wow, no numbers.
0 for 3 4.
Like B2 the red.
B T O
The number
T H E.
202. I was pimping it out 121.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
And that's how you end an episode.
Wow.
Everybody, if you still have AOL, AIM, go hit up Pimping
Hit
It
my
Out.
line.
121.
Send your demos to Doja Wody.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you coming on this
Love you, man.
more than you ever know, will ever know.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate you guys as people, as supporters, as friends, as family, as mentors, as is everything. And I'm excited to keep growing and have you guys along for the ride and get to be along for your guys'. So
I'm excited to
I'm
watch
so
it.
appreciative. I
We're
love you
just little
guys.
Dap Kings.
Oh, yeah.
Captain Planet.
That was definitely Captain
By the
Planet.
powers invested in me, we are Captain Planet.
And that's how we're ending it. And to everybody listening,
I'm Aryay.
And I'm Flosstradamus.
And this is an experiment. Experiment.
Spearmint.
and we're out. Love you guys.
That's right.
The experience is the experiment.